The EU needs an agreement as Trump threatens to impose import tariffs. Stubb praises Trump's approach to pressuring Russia for peace negotiations. Russia intensifies its crackdown on Russians abroad. President Alexander Stubb, the reopening of the eastern border depends on Russia. According to expert Andy Ivanen from Danske Bank, the impact of the import tariffs proposed by Donald Trump depends on the scope of the tariffs and the specific rates. It is still unclear which products will be affected and what tariff levels the EU will face. Trump has issued a series of threats regarding import tariffs targeting the EU, Canada, Mexico, and China. He is also expected to impose tariffs on oil, gas, semiconductors, steel, copper, aluminum, and pharmaceuticals. Ivanen emphasizes that the EU should use diplomatic measures to avoid escalating trade tensions, as in a trade war, the EU could suffer significant losses. The tariffs could raise the prices of goods and affect the U.S. economy, although it is unlikely to cause long-term inflation. However, the tax cuts proposed by the Republican Party could help offset some of this impact. Finnish President Alexander Stubb believes that Donald Trump changed the direction of U.S. foreign policy from his first term, focusing on the America First approach. He predicts that the Trump administration will pursue more deals in the new term and suggests that Finland could benefit, especially in the icebreaker shipbuilding industry. Regarding tensions with Russia, Stubb emphasizes that instead of persuasion, President Vladimir Putin should be forced into peace negotiations. He believes Trump is doing this by setting clear demands and applying direct pressure on Putin. Stubb also warns of the increasing risk of sabotage of undersea cables in the Baltic Sea, stressing that security conditions are edging closer to hybrid warfare. He urges the Finnish people to stay calm and be prepared to handle any emerging situations. Maksim Aliev, a Russian who organized an anti-war protest in Kemi, Finland, has become a target of the Russian government. Russian police unexpectedly visited his parents' home in Siberia, interrogated them about his whereabouts and activities, and warned them about the consequences of lying. Aliev stated that previously, the Russian government paid little attention to those who left the country. However, since the Ukraine war began, Moscow has expanded its control, even pressuring the families of dissenters abroad. Many relatives in Russia have been forced to condemn the activities of their family members living abroad publicly. Researchers view this as a new tactic to suppress opposition voices. While some are afraid and remain silent, many others, like Aliev, continue to resist. He asserts that he will not stop his anti-war activism and hopes his family will not face further harassment. Finnish President Alexander Stubb stated that there are no signs from Russia indicating that Finland will be able to reopen the eastern border. He emphasized that if the border is reopened and Russia continues to use refugees as a political tool, it would be a serious issue. The ball is in Russia's court, Stubb remarked during a press conference in Lappeenranta. The president also confirmed that the decision to open the border lies with the Finnish parliament. He highlighted that Europe is increasingly facing forms of hybrid warfare from Russia and urged the Finnish people to remain calm. Additionally, Stubb attended a dinner hosted by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, where Nordic leaders discussed the Greenland issue. He reaffirmed that Finland supports Denmark through dialogue and diplomatic discussions rather than through public media statements. Henrik Vuornos, a member of the Conservative Party, has become a Finnish parliament member after Kai Mikkonen was appointed mayor of Espoo. Upon taking office, Vuornos proposed further cuts to vocational education budgets to shift funding toward higher education. He argued that the number of young people with higher education in Finland is still low compared to many OECD countries. Currently, around 40% of Finnish youth hold a university degree, while other nations have achieved higher rates. He suggested increasing the number of students entering upper secondary school to at least 60%, up from the current 50%, meaning a reduction in vocational school enrollments. Additionally, Vuornos proposed that the state encourage students to continue their education to higher levels instead of stopping after obtaining one degree. He emphasized that higher education provides clear benefits in terms of employment, income, and societal development. Vuornos estimates that adjusting the education system could cost around 50 million euros annually. He hopes the government will bring this issue to the policy discussion meeting in April. Finnish pension funds have made significant changes to their investment policies, now considering the defense industry, including nuclear weapons, as a suitable option for responsible investors. Previously, responsible investments excluded sectors like tobacco, alcohol, pornography, and the arms industry. However, this view is shifting. According to Karolina Lindros, the head of responsible investments at Ilmarinen Pension Fund, the company has adjusted its policy and can now invest in companies involved with nuclear weapons in NATO member countries. Similarly, Verma Pension Fund has expanded its investment scope to include companies producing controversial weapons, including nuclear weapons. However, they set a limit. No more than 5% of a company's revenue can come from the production of such weapons. This change comes in the context of the evolving security situation in Europe following the Russia-Ukraine conflict and Finland's accession to NATO. Many experts, such as Mika Leskinen from Espoo, argue that investing in defense is not irresponsible, but an inevitable part of ensuring security. With increasing defense budgets, the defense industry is becoming a potential sector for investors, and Finnish pension funds are quickly adapting to this trend. Helsinki police have arrested a 20-year-old man suspected of attempting to abduct a 2-year-old boy at Oulunkylä station on Thursday afternoon. According to the initial investigation, the suspect tried to pick up the child from a bench at the station, but the child's grandmother acted quickly and picked up her grandchild. Fortunately, the child was not injured. The suspect showed unstable behavior at the scene. Surveillance cameras recorded footage of the incident. When arrested on Friday evening, the police had not yet revealed whether the suspect would face charges. Police are calling for anyone with information about the incident or who has seen the suspect to come forward and assist with the investigation. Länsi-Uusimaa police announced that a man suspected of committing a serious assault in Tapiola, Espoo, last November has voluntarily surrendered. Earlier, the police had repeatedly called on the public to provide information to help locate the suspect, who is accused of following multiple people near the Ainoa shopping center on the evening of November 8th. Witnesses described the suspect as aggressive and out of control. Following the suspect's surrender, the investigation will continue with interrogations. The police are still encouraging anyone with relevant information to come forward to assist with the investigation. On Thursday evening, a large fire broke out at the Orskosken Jalosteta's pellet factory in Parkano, causing severe damage. The fire started in a 2,000 square meter soda storage area and spread to the entire roof structure of the factory, causing part of the roof to collapse. The fire department deployed 25 units to extinguish the flames and successfully prevented the fire from reaching the production equipment, saving them from damage. However, the pellet and material storage area was heavily destroyed. The company's CEO stated that financial damages could amount to millions of euros, and restoring the factory may take several months. The cause of the fire is still under investigation by the police, but there are currently no signs of foul play. Fortunately, there were no casualties in the fire. The rise of electric vehicles has created a demand for the implementation of capacity fees in electricity transfer contracts for condominiums and private homes. The capacity fee is based on peak electricity consumption, which could lead to higher costs if electricity is used simultaneously, such as when charging an electric vehicle while heating a sauna. Currently, about 50,000 customers have been subjected to this fee, and the number is expected to increase significantly, especially in major cities like Helsinki, Kuopio, and Jyväskylä. Condominiums with electric vehicle charging stations will need to consider including capacity fees in their contracts, which could become mandatory if consumption exceeds a certain threshold. However, customers can choose not to apply the capacity fee if they do not own an electric vehicle or have low electricity consumption needs. Load management systems and charging vehicles at night could help reduce these costs. Last year, the people of Finland reported a record amount of forest harvesting, around 65 million cubic meters of wood, an increase of 7 to 11 million cubic meters compared to the previous year. One of the reasons was the halt in wood imports from Russia, which led to a sharp rise in domestic wood demand and prices. Additionally, storms caused significant damage to many forests, increasing the area of forests that needed to be harvested, as the law requires fallen trees to be cleared to prevent pest infestations. However, overharvesting could harm rare plant and animal species. According to experts, these species are struggling in commercial forests, and protecting more conservation areas is the best way to safeguard them. Despite this, many Finns actively protect forests through the Metso Conservation Program, where the government buys and preserves private forests. Unemployment in Finland has risen sharply, particularly among those with higher education. In December last year, the number of unemployed people with a university degree reached 52,200, the highest in many years. Sectors that previously had high labor demand, such as nursing and information technology, are now facing difficulties. Although the nursing sector has faced labor shortages for a long time, the issue is now a lack of jobs. A similar situation is occurring in the IT sector, where there was once a severe shortage of workers, but now large-scale employment negotiations in companies are driving up the unemployment rate. Additionally, the unemployment of recent graduates has worsened, especially in fields such as languages, social sciences, healthcare, and IT. The lack of jobs has forced many to search for work for longer periods, with around 17,000 university graduates being unemployed for over a year. The PM Union has announced the possibility of a strike in the retail sector starting from February 19th if negotiations do not make progress. The strike would affect approximately 70,000 workers and more than 3,000 sales points, including major supermarkets such as K-Supermarket, S-Market, Lidl, Tokmanni, and other chains. Workers in logistics and management departments of these companies will also participate in the strike. Although retailers like Kesko and S-Group are trying to ensure that stores remain open during the strike, this remains uncertain. The PM Union believes the strike is necessary to demand higher wages for low-paid workers. This situation is also causing concern for consumers, as supermarkets may face staff shortages. Negotiations are still ongoing, but if no agreement is reached, the strike will continue until February 22nd. The winter flu season in Finland is intensifying this week. The number of visits to healthcare centers and confirmed flu cases has increased significantly, particularly in some regions. According to experts from the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, THL, the flu is spreading widely across the country, and the peak of the epidemic may still be ahead. While last year the flu season started early and peaked towards the end of the year, this year's situation is different. In addition to the flu, there are other respiratory infections such as adenovirus, RSV virus, and even COVID-19. However, the number of flu B cases has been rising recently. This situation is expected to last for the next 8 to 10 weeks, depending on the severity and strength of the outbreak. Thomas Halloran, a man from Kotka, encountered a strange situation when his personal information was used by someone else to ride the bus without a ticket in the Helsinki metropolitan area. The incident began 2 years ago when he received a fine of €80 for riding the bus without a ticket. However, at the time he was in Kotka, not in Helsinki. He later discovered that someone had used his personal information to ride the bus without paying. Over the past 2 years, his information had been used 3 times for this act. Despite reporting the incidents to the police, the perpetrator has not been identified. HSL, Helsinki Regional Transport Authority, stated that using someone else's personal information to avoid payment is possible but requires very accurate information about the individual. Thomas has contacted HSL and suggested measures to prevent this from happening again, including electronic verification of passengers. This year, Finland's name day calendar has added 33 new names, while the Swedish-speaking Finnish name day calendar has added 27 new names. These additions reflect the internationalization of naming practices, with names like Jessica, Camilla, and Kevin being included. Additionally, some older names have made a comeback, such as Amos, Rolf, and Linus. The new names in the Swedish name day calendar are often inspired by English, with names like Aston, Elton, and Winston, as well as names from Italian culture such as Sienna and Matteo. Finland's name day calendar is updated annually and includes names held by at least 500 people. Notable figures such as Queen Camilla of the UK and rapper Cheek, Jer Taihonen, also have their own name days this year. A major report from the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, THL, has proposed 116 research-based solutions aimed at reducing healthcare costs and making Finnish society more resilient in the face of crises. While Finland still maintains high trust in its social institutions, the rise in inequality is eroding trust in agencies such as the healthcare system and the government. Researchers emphasize that in order to build a crisis-resistant society, public health must be improved and social inequality must be reduced. They propose policies such as adjusting food prices to encourage healthier eating habits and reforming alcohol policies, a major cause of illness and death. These measures would not only improve public health, but could also save billions of euros annually by reducing costs associated with diseases like obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. A new study reveals that individuals with Finnish names are more likely to receive job interview invitations than those with names from other countries, especially immigrants. While there has been improvement in employment opportunities for people with Somali and Iraqi names since 2016, they still receive fewer interview invitations compared to those with Finnish names. Women, regardless of ethnicity, are more likely to be invited for interviews than men. Researcher Aklak Ahmad argues that name-based discrimination reflects deep structural barriers in the Finnish labor market. This particularly affects young immigrants, potentially damaging their self-esteem and leading to poorer social integration. WWF has launched a beach cleanup campaign in Hanko starting today after discovering a large amount of unusual white material on the shore. The substance has been identified as a mixture of vegetable oil, though the main component has yet to be confirmed. The campaign has already attracted over 40 volunteers, and the cleanup is expected to continue at least until the weekend. Volunteers are focusing on cleaning up long sandy beaches and more difficult areas such as rocky shores and reeds. Earlier, the discovery of dead fish in the area had delayed the cleanup, but volunteers are not coming into contact with the dead fish until the cause is determined through testing. Many Hanko residents have already started cleaning, and numerous volunteer groups have joined in. WWF encourages more volunteers to sign up via the organization's website, aiming to complete the cleanup as soon as possible. According to statistics, Finns purchase an average of 54 plastic bags each year, a decrease from 70 bags in 2017, but still above the European Union's goal of reducing consumption to 40 bags per person by the end of 2025. Although plastic bag consumption has decreased, it still exceeds the EU's target, and families may spend tens of euros on plastic bags annually. A family with young children, shopping twice a week, could spend up to 50 euros on plastic bags. To address this issue, supermarkets have implemented measures such as increasing the price of plastic bags and encouraging customers to use reusable bags. Large companies like S Group and K Group are also introducing tools to track plastic bag usage through mobile apps to minimize consumption. Reducing plastic bag usage remains a key environmental protection goal for the EU and organizations in Finland.